Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Curious Kingdom. Today we will be recapping a thrilling sci-fi movie called Interstellar. The story revolves around Cooper, an Air Force pilot. While flying, his jet suddenly loses all power. Cooper wakes up from a dream to his daughter Murph, who talks to him about ghosts. Murph asks if he dreamt about the plane crash again, but Cooper avoids discussing it. Cooper's father-in-law, Don, gathers the children for breakfast. Cooper's son, Tom, playfully mocks his sister for claiming that a ghost broke their father's miniature lander. Cooper reminds Murph that ghosts aren't real. They step outside to discuss the spreading blight, a disease affecting the farms. Cooper and the kids leave their home and encounter a flat tire on their way to school. Cooper instructs Tom to fix the tire while he and Murph observe a military drone passing overhead. Cooper rushes the children inside as he follows the drone despite the flat tire, venturing into the cornfields. Tom takes control of the vehicle while Cooper searches for his equipment. Preoccupied with capturing the drone, Cooper fails to notice they are near the edge of a cliff. Eventually, Cooper successfully hacks the drone, lands it with Murph's assistance, and decides to repurpose it. They finally reach the school, where Tom heads to class while Murph stays in the car. Cooper attends a parent-teacher conference, where the principal mentions Tom's potential as a future farmer. However, Cooper insists that Tom should attend college, arguing that taxpayer money should fund universities since there is no need for more armies, but rather educated individuals who can help combat worldwide famine. The teacher then expresses concern about Murph's interest in the moon landing, dismissing it as a fake. Cooper counters by emphasizing the importance of seemingly useless breakthroughs like the MRI, which could have saved his wife's life. The teacher apologizes and seeks Cooper's help with Murph's behavior. Cooper decides to address it by taking her to a baseball game. Upon their return to the farm, they discover malfunctioning tractors and books scattered in Murph's room. Murph believes it's the ghost communicating through Morse code, but Cooper disagrees. He later fixes the tractors, but the cause of the malfunction remains a mystery. Cooper and Don reminisce about the past when innovation was constant, while Don expresses concern about Cooper's relentless dream of space travel. At the baseball game, Tom agrees to take care of the farm in the future. Suddenly, sirens blare, announcing an approaching sandstorm. People remain calm and evacuate orderly. On their way back home, Murph realizes she left the window open, prompting her and Cooper to rush upstairs to close it. As the dust settles, Cooper notices a peculiar pattern on the floor. The next day, Murph finds her father in her room, and Cooper demonstrates how gravity is the ghost all along, realizing that the sand communicates through binary code. They mark the coordinates given by the sand on a map. Cooper plans to go alone, but Murph hides under the blankets, forcing him to allow her to join. During the night, they cautiously drive through the unknown area. Cooper steps out of the vehicle to remove a gate blocking their path. Suddenly, a flashlight turns on, and a voice threatens Cooper, chasing him. Inside the protected area, Cooper wakes up and gets interrogated by TARS, a tactical robot. Dr. Amelia Brandt enters the room and introduces herself to Cooper, who recognizes the name from another Professor Brand. Amelia takes Cooper to a conference room, where Murph interacts with the elderly crowd. There, Cooper reunites with Professor Brand. Cooper briefly explains how they found the hidden base until Murph reveals that gravity guided them there. Cooper refuses to reveal more unless their safety is assured. They laugh, revealing that NASA operates behind the walls and a team of engineers is working on a rocket ship. Professor Brand explains that society no longer supports funding for space exploration due to the famine. However, their focus has shifted to finding a solution for the food shortage caused by the blight, which affects different crops each year. Weeds and potatoes are no longer viable, and corn is expected to be the next crop to suffer. The blight devours the Earth's oxygen. While NASA lacks a plan to save the world, they intend to depart from it. Professor Brand introduces Cooper to Project Endurance, the last hope for humanity within the Lazarus missions. These missions represent Earth's ultimate expedition, aiming to discover a habitable planet. After some persuasion, Cooper agrees to become the pilot of Project Endurance, motivated by the well-being of humanity, and, in particular, his children. During the mission briefing in the conference room, Cooper learns that NASA has located a wormhole near Saturn, serving as a gateway to another galaxy. They speculate that benevolent beings called Sama have placed the wormhole to aid humanity. A decade ago, NASA dispatched 12 astronauts to explore 12 planets, but only 3 have sent transmissions regarding the planet's suitability for life. The mission has a plan A and a Plan B. Plan A involves using the current facility as a spacecraft, utilizing gravitational forces to propel the surviving humans into space. However, this process remains theoretical, awaiting practical implementation by Professor Brand. Plan B, on the other hand, aims to send thousands of fertilized eggs to establish a colony on the new planet. With a determined expression, Professor Brand assures Cooper that Plan B will be operational upon his return, instilling complete faith in him. Back at home, Cooper attempts to communicate with Murph, who feels saddened by her father's departure. Later that night, Donald confronts Cooper about his dream of space travel becoming a reality. Cooper explains that the mission represents humanity's final hope, as they must leave the planet that has gradually been killing them. Morning arrives, and Cooper consoles Murph, emphasizing that he is undertaking this journey for her sake. Tom Murphy tries to dissuade Cooper, referencing the stay message from the ghost. However, Cooper remains steadfast, tightly embracing Murph and gifting her a watch, explaining that time and space passes more slowly, so they may be the same age when he returns. Angered, she throws the watch away. Cooper bids farewell and assures her of his return. Outside, Cooper hugs his son, symbolically passing on his responsibilities to him, and checks under the blanket to ensure Murph isn't hiding. As he drives off, Murph attempts to chase after him, but it's too late. Tears stream down Cooper's face as the countdown begins, and the rocket launches, carrying Cooper, his crew, and TARS away from their home. In space, Cooper engages in playful banter with Amelia. They approach the Endurance space station, and Doyle prepares to dock the spacecraft. After successful docking, the crew enters the station and powers up the controls. A tactical robot activates the boosters, causing the space station to start rotating. Romilly, another crew member, feels ill. Professor Brand appears on the screen, wishing them luck on their 2-year journey to Saturn. Endurance begins its voyage into the vast expanse of deep space, with Cooper observing Earth from the window, now distant. Meanwhile, Romilly prepares for deep sleep in his chamber. Amelia and Cooper discuss the 3 astronauts they potentially will encounter: Dr. Mann, Dr. Miller, and Dr. Edmonds. Amelia holds Dr. Mann in high regard, as he inspired the rest of them to embark on this perilous expedition. Amelia enters her chamber, and Cooper privately questions TARS about Amelia's relationship with Dr. Edmonds. However, TARS evades the question, programmed not to disclose sensitive information. Cooper sits in front of the video recorder, saying his goodbyes to his children before entering a deep sleep. Back on Earth, Professor Brand visits Cooper's family, delivering the video message from Cooper. However, Murph shows little interest. Brand speaks with Donald about taking Murph under his wing. Years pass, and near the outskirts of Saturn, a faint glow is seen passing by. Cooper awakens, watching video messages from his family. He sits alongside Romilly, who appears paranoid about their situation. Cooper comforts him and lends him his earphones. Doyle and Cooper review images collected by probes that traveled through the wormhole. On the radio, Amelia announces that they will reach the wormhole in a few hours. The crew anxiously awaits their arrival, donning their spacesuits, with the fate of humanity resting upon their shoulders. As they traverse the wormhole, the ship's integrity barely withstands the tremendous speed. Amelia notices a spatial distortion resembling an arm reaching out, assuming it to be the benevolent beings, and reaches out herself. Everything falls silent as the ship stabilizes and glides smoothly. The crew gathers for another meeting to decide which planet to journey to. They learn that they have lost contact with Dr. Edmonds, leaving them with 2 options. One choice is a planet near Gargantua, a black hole where 1 hour equals 7 Earth years. Doyle and Cooper have a heated argument, with Doyle advocating for Plan B and letting everyone on Earth perish. Cooper suggests a compromise, traveling to the opposite side of Gargantua, where their time won't be affected upon landing. After some preparations, Case joins the crew for the planet expedition while Romilly remains aboard the ship. As they approach the planet's surface, they encounter intense turbulence. The crew prepares for landing, and they are greeted by a vast ocean as they descend through the clouds. Cooper expertly pilots the craft, skillfully stopping just before hitting the water. Time is running out, and Doyle and Amelia venture into the shallow seas. Case discovers debris from Dr. Miller's beacon, and they search for the rest of the wreckage, heading towards the mountains ahead. Inside the ship, Cooper realizes that the mountains are actually colossal waves. Fortunately, the waves are moving away from them, but another one looms behind. Despite the towering wall of water, Amelia persists in her search for Dr. Miller's data. She finds it but falls while trying to retrieve it. Case transforms into a wheel and swiftly carries her back to the ship, just as Doyle is about to be swept away by the rough waves. The wave collides with the ship, flooding the interior. They are tossed around inside as they ride the wave, surviving the turbulent seas. However, the ship sustains damage, and Cooper lashes out at Amelia for not returning when he instructed her to. They have been on the planet for nearly an hour and have not only lost Dr. Miller, but also lost decades of Earth time. Amelia speculates that Dr. Miller likely landed on the planet only hours ago due to the time difference, explaining why the wreckage was relatively intact. Their hopelessness intensifies when Cooper realizes that his daughter is now an adult. With no time to rest, another wave approaches. Through their desperate efforts, they manage to restart the engine and escape. Back on the ship, a much older Romilly welcomes them. They have been gone for over 23 years, leaving Cooper and Amelia in disbelief. Romilly informs them that he has learned all he can from the black holes but was unable to send his research to Earth. Meanwhile, Cooper watches over 23 years' worth of video messages, witnessing his children's lives unfold before his eyes. He tears up as his once timid young son has grown into a husband, father, and parent. He mourns the loss of a child through several videos. Donald has passed away, and Murph has become distant. Tom bids his farewell, accepting that Cooper won't return. The screen fades to black, and Murphy appears, starting her message with anger towards her father. It's her birthday, and she is now the same age as Cooper. She concludes the message by pleading for him to come back. Murph wipes her tears and finds Professor Brand in a wheelchair nearby. She is surprised to be sending her first message and joins him in his office to collaborate on the unresolved theory. Murph stares intently at the board, realizing that they have been approaching the equation from the wrong perspective. Professor Brand is aware of this but doesn't explain why he hasn't made changes. Back on Endurance, they weigh their options of visiting Dr. Mann's planet or Edmunds, who stopped transmitting some time ago. Amelia believes that the latter is the better choice as it is farther from the black hole. Cooper argues that Dr. Mann, who continues to send transmissions, is the obvious choice. Before they vote, Cooper informs Romilly about Amelia's bias towards Edmund's planet due to their relationship. Amelia doesn't deny it and passionately argues that their love should be reason enough to choose that destination. However, Cooper and Romilly remain unaffected by her emotional speech and chart a course to Dr. Mann's planet. On Earth, Tom has fulfilled his potential as a farmer. He burns a line of crops to prevent the spread of the blight. Murph visits Tom and his wife Lois, and they discuss the deteriorating conditions on the planet, with Tom's second son, Coop, suffering from respiratory problems caused by the dust storms. Meanwhile, on Endurance, Amelia holds a grudge against Cooper, stating that if Dr. Mann's planet proves unsuitable, they will either have to return or proceed with Plan B on Edmund's planet, sacrificing billions of lives on Earth. Murph rushes to the hospital to visit Professor Brand as he nears his death, promising him that she will carry on his work with his final words. Brand confesses to Murph that Project Endurance was never intended to return, and both Plana and the theory were merely Brand's illusions, leaving Murph shocked and frustrated. Murph records a video message to relay the news, accusing Amelia of being aware of her father's deceit. As a spacecraft approaches Dr. Mann's planet, the crew arrives at the snowy mountains and discovers a rundown living area housing Dr. Mann. Upon waking him from deep sleep, Mann bursts into tears at the sight of another human being. He shares his discovery that the current peak they are on lacks breathable air, but the planet's lower surface may be suitable for life. He believes alien life forms may already inhabit the planet, although they have not yet been encountered. Tars urges Amelia to view Murph's video message, which fills the room with her voice exposing the truth. Murph breaks down at the idea of her father willingly sacrificing humanity. Cooper is stunned by this revelation and contemplates returning to Earth. On Earth, Murph informs her colleague about Professor Brand's lies, but Getty insists that society deserves to know their fate. However, Murph refuses to disclose the information and remains determined to decipher the messages from the ghost in her room. Murph visits her old room and, during a checkup on Tom's family's worsening condition, provokes Tom by questioning if he will wait for another child to die before taking action. Tom threatens them, and Murph and Getty seize the opportunity to rescue Tom's family and return to her room. On the alien planet, Cooper prepares to depart for Earth, while Romilly suggests throwing Tars into the black hole to gather information about its interior. Tars, displaying his humanity, accepts the challenge. Dr. Mann prepares to construct the laboratory and habitat modules sent from Endurance. Cooper accompanies Mann to scout potential areas for the modules, but their conversation escalates, leading them to the edge of an abyss. Suddenly, Mann removes Cooper's transmission device and pushes him off. Cooper fights back, and in the struggle, Mann fakes his data and admits the planet is uninhabitable. He chose to save himself, jeopardizing the mission. The two wrestle, and when Cooper gains the upper hand, Mann headbutts Cooper's helmet, exposing him to the toxic air and leaving him to suffocate. Mann looks back at Cooper, struggling with remorse. Crawling toward a transmission device, Cooper desperately calls for Amelia. Case and Amelia arrive just in time, and Amelia rushes to save Cooper. They board the ship, and Cooper reveals Mann's betrayal. Meanwhile, Romilly starts modifying Tars and senses something amiss when he examines the data from Dr. Mann's tactical robot. He hears Amelia's call on the radio, but an explosion occurs in the distance. Surprised by the turn of events, Mann turns on his comms to listen to Cooper, who is still alive, communicating with Amelia. Cooper and Amelia witness the devastation caused by the explosion, and within the flames, Tars appears. Tars boards the ship and reveals the news of Romilly's fate. Simultaneously, Dr. Mann boards the ship, planning to abandon the crew. Cooper tries to communicate with him, but Man remains unresponsive. Case informs the crew that the auto-docking procedure on the ship is disabled, making it nearly impossible for Dr. Man to dock with Endurance successfully. The ship teeters dangerously around the hatch, but Man fails to align it properly despite the blaring alarms. He still insists on opening the hatch, despite Cooper's desperate pleas not to, as it would cause the airlock to explode. Amelia's voice broadcasts a warning throughout the ship, but Man justifies his actions, claiming he is doing it for the sake of humanity. As he opens the hatch, the airlock indeed explodes. The crew witnesses the explosion from a distance, and debris approaches them. Cooper takes control of the spacecraft and formulates a plan to chase Endurance and dock at extreme speeds. Kate argues that it is impossible, but Cooper asserts that it is necessary. They align themselves under the docking area as Endurance approaches the stratosphere of the planet. TARS opens the hatch, and they manage to achieve perfect alignment. The ship begins rotating with Endurance, subjecting the crew to intense G-forces that cause Amelia to black out. Cooper clings to the controls for dear life, and TARS successfully locks in the docking. They stop the rotation, propelling Endurance out of the stratosphere. The station stabilizes, and they celebrate briefly until Kate reveals that they are headed towards Gargantua. Inside the ship, they navigate through the damaged quarters and reach the generator room where Amelia confirms that the power system is stable. Cooper announces that their navigations are destroyed, rendering a return to Earth impossible. However, they may still have a chance to reach Edmund's planet by using Gargantua as a giant slingshot. They prepare to jettison every component they can, including TARS, in order to reduce weight. Amelia expresses her displeasure, but TARS assures her that his sole purpose is to save Endurance. Endurance enters Gargantua's orbit and reaches maximum velocity as they begin their exit one by one. All engines fire off, and TARS detaches, bidding his farewells. Amelia panics upon hearing the initiation of Case's ejection sequence. Resources are insufficient for both Cooper and Case, so Cooper sacrifices himself by detaching. He heads toward the center of the black hole. Amelia weeps as she listens to Cooper's final words. Darkness engulfs Cooper's ship, and he is prompted by the computer to eject. He is thrust into the darkness, shivering in the coldness and pressure. Cooper finds himself in a seemingly endless room, grabbing onto one of its walls, which is composed of books. He tries to peer through to the other side and glimpses a room. He bangs on the shelves, catching the attention of a young Murph, who notices fallen books and a miniature lander. Cooper calls out to her, but she cannot hear him. He realizes that each wall represents a different event in the past. He witnesses his younger self planning to leave and berates him, shouting for him to stay. Cooper realizes he can communicate through Morse code and begins pushing the books to spell out the word stay. Meanwhile, present-day Murph starts removing the books, growing emotional as she searches for the message she wrote as a child. Present Murph realizes that the ghost was her father. TARS survives and calls out to Cooper, revealing that they are in a dimension created by the omnibenevolent beings where time is a physical plane. Cooper realizes that gravity can travel through time, allowing him to send a message back to Earth. Murph comes to the same realization and counts on her father to send a message. Cooper asks TARS for NASA's coordinates in binary and transmits it to his past self in the form of gravitational waves. Cooper laughs as he realizes that the omnibenevolent beings chose Murph to save humanity. He traverses the quarters, following his love for Earth, believing that he can use the watch to convey the quantum data to Murph, enabling her to make plan work. Murph grabs the watch and notices the seconds ticking in Morse code. She rushes outside and embraces Tom, exclaiming that their father has returned to save them. In Brand's office, Murph figures out how to execute Plan A, and an elated Murph begins her calculations and kisses Getty. TARS informs Cooper that their plan succeeded as the omnibenevolent beings start closing the dimension they are in. Cooper reveals that these beings are humans who have evolved far beyond their imagination, existing in a multi-dimensional plane. Cooper is engulfed by a bright light and sees Amelia reaching out her hand to him. His arm was the distortion she had witnessed previously. Cooper wakes up in a hospital room, observing a distorted world outside. The doctor informs him that they are in Cooper Station near Saturn, named after his daughter. Cooper tours the station and witnesses humanity's progress. They arrive at his home, which now serves as a museum honoring his life. Cooper gazes at the stars, and later that day, he fixes something. He enters a room and encounters his descendants, including an older Murph who is overjoyed to see her father return. She then asks him to leave and search for Amelia. Meanwhile, Amelia and Case find themselves alone in an unfamiliar land. Cooper and TARS embark on a journey to reunite with them. The omnibenevolent beings, who are now evolved humans from future generations, have the ability to enter a multi-dimensional plane, enabling them to create the three-dimensional plane that Cooper was transported to when he entered the black hole. In this dimension, Cooper provided the quantum data to Murph, allowing her to execute plan of the NASA space station left Earth and establish stations throughout the galaxy, including the one near the black hole that propelled Cooper near Saturn years later. Due to the time dilation he experienced while slingshotting around Gargantua, Cooper finds himself in a world where his daughter Murph played a significant role in humanity's survival. Cooper's journey now takes him to a reunion with Amelia, whom he believes has just landed on Edmund's planet due to the effects of time relativity. Amelia, unaware that Cooper has been sent to find her, likely considers herself humanity's last hope. That's all for today, folks. Like, share, and subscribe for more such content. Curious Knight signing off. Stay safe, stay curious.